Today we're going to talk about the climate change alarmists, the ones that say we're going to die in about 10 years' time. And we're going to talk about the fact that they don't actually care about the environment or ordinary people, and they talk about their main agenda, which is power. We call them watermelons. Green on the outside, red on the inside. Communist red. For example, look at this guy.
They've got another 50, 60, 70 years to live on this planet. By that time, there could be only 1 billion people left. I mean, that's 6 billion people that have died from starvation or been slaughtered in war. I mean, the scale of it is beyond the imagination, isn't it? And this is the biggest problem, is the elites and the BBC and the conventional media has simply not grasped the enormity of what's happening.
Well, never mind the elites. It seems that many people, even who were involved in the early days of Extinction Rebellion, like yourself, think you are going far too far.
You haven't heard what I've said, and this is the fundamental problem.
I'm listening very carefully to
No, I don't think you are. You're listening, but you're not emotionally connecting, and this is the...
Right, not emotionally connected. So that's the biggest problem with these people. The irrational, emotional arguments. In the words of Ben Shapiro, facts don't care about your feelings. Right, let's talk about Greta Thunberg. That 16-year-old climate change activist who decided to go on strike instead of going to school. She's currently on her way to New York on a boat instead of flying because she thinks this way her carbon footprint would be, zero apparently. But it's not true, is it? Because the Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg, who is obviously currently sailing to New York, is doing it to set an example of how to live without emitting carbon, when in reality her trip will emit 6 times more emissions than flying would have, because her crew is jetting back home afterward. Also, her boat is made by carbon fiber. But what is it? Well, there's no doubt that carbon fiber costs a ton of energy to produce. In fact, it's about 14 times as energy intensive as producing steel. And the creation process spews out a significant amount of greenhouse gases. So whilst Greta is currently pooing in a bucket on a boat, the boat itself is not really environmental friendly. The climate change activists are very smart. They've been using Greta Thunberg as a shield because she's a 16-year-old activist, and if you criticize her, that means you're very mean and you're very evil. For example, this tweet. Julia Hartley-Brewer tweeted at Greta saying, "Hi Greta, I've just booked some long-haul flights for my family to enjoy some winter sun on the beach this Christmas. Level of guilt being felt, 0%. The reaction we've had from one of Greta's supporters is that picking a fight with a 16-year-old who's trying to help make a difference to the planet we live on apparently is very, very mean. So okay, let's not criticize Greta anymore. Let's look at her financial backers and people behind this campaign. Well, the Greta phenomenon has also involved green lobbyists, PR hustlers, eco-academics, and a think tank founded by a wealthy former minister in Sweden's social democratic government with links to the country's energy companies. These companies are preparing for the biggest bonanza of government contracts in history, the greening of the Western economies. Greta, whether she and her parents know it or not, is the face of their political strategy. Classic socialists. There's always something behind their main agenda. But Greta is not the only problem. Celebrities are even worse than her. So we have currently Meghan Markle, who is very, very pro-environment, jetting around the world, and Elton John feeling sorry for her, saying, don't criticize Meghan Markle. She wants to make the world a better place, but she won't do it herself because she's a celebrity and she's powerful. You ordinary poor people should do it instead. Well, the BBC have calculated that the 2 flights so far that Harry and Meghan have taken alone produced 6 times more emissions than an average Brit does each year. And this is why there is one rule for the rich and the powerful celebrities, and there's another rule for ordinary people. Another hypocrisy came from Emma Thompson, the actress, during a rally in London about her flying habits.
But I don't fly nearly as much as I did because of my carbon footprint, and I plant a lot of trees.
Do you fly economy to kind of reduce your carbon footprint?
I bloody don't, no.
Of course she has to take first class. How dare you ask that question? But apparently Elton John is feeling very sorry for the real victims of this story. Emma Thompson, Meghan Markle, and the other celebrities who don't practice what they preach. The watermelon rocket man wants to lecture people on how to live their own lives, but he and his friends want to live differently. But now, regardless of what we think about the whole issue, whether we like it or not, the Extinction Rebellion are winning the argument, at least in terms of the media coverage that they're getting. So let's embrace it and let's win it back from them. Because let's be honest, if they happen to be right, well, not in terms of the world is going to end in 10 years' time, but as a whole of this, because of this argument, and we don't do anything about it, then obviously they'll win. If they are wrong, and we still don't do anything about it and completely ignore them, then they'll get into power and they'll create a completely communist utopia across the world, and that's not a good thing, guys. The watermelons don't care about ordinary people. For example, when it comes to energy and heating issues for poor people who can't afford it, when it comes to banning things that a lot of people rely on, and expensive lifestyle. This is why only the rich can afford to be socialists. But this is why our best strategy to win the argument and defeat these people is right here. We have to be real about the issue and the solutions. So 1, there's no doom. The world is not going to end in 10 years' time. 2, we have a situation where, yes, climate changes. Nature has a big role to play in that. And yes, humans have had an impact over the last 100, 150 years' time, but to what extent? But this doesn't mean we have to pick between being a climate change denier or a completely we're going to die in 10 years' time argument. There is something in between. We could still create a good and healthy and clean environment if we focus on issues like cleaner air and clean water. For example, the issue that is affecting Africa. And cleaner air is affecting London, but places like China and other places in Asia. So these sort of things have a direct effect on people's lives and on their health. And when it comes to the main point of CO2 emissions and climate change in general across the world, we have to teach these people that if they truly care about coming up with solutions, creating centralized, bureaucratic, supranational governments is not the solution. You're just going to make it worse and worse. This is why all these green energy and renewable energies are still very expensive. The only solution is to embrace capitalism and innovation. All the things that these people kind of enjoy right now, whether it's from solar panels and all the other new technologies, have been created by free marketeers and innovation. So let the market be free, not just for the sake of saving us in the next 10, 20 years, but because it's just good business. It's good economically because you're going to create more jobs. 2, it's going to be cheaper to buy these sort of things because it's free market instead of subsidizing it through taxing poor people. And it's just common sense. Look at Elon Musk in America. He's been coming up with new ideas because it's been good business for him. He's been making money, he's been creating a lot of jobs, and the things that he's selling now are getting cheaper and cheaper. Even Tesla. The same applies to planes. Don't ban planes. In our free market system, we have already come up with new ideas such as electric planes. Obviously, it's still early days, and so they're not really that commercial yet, but that's how you do it. You let them innovate. You let them create businesses. Stop hitting poor people. Stop hitting ordinary people with your weird fantasies. So let's stop being silent and come up with alternatives. Because if we don't fight back against these radicals, then they could get into power and they could create a very, very bad world for all of us. And start by sharing this video so people know the truth. People have been asking, because I've been promoting my Twitter account recently, they said also I should also add my Instagram, so it should be somewhere down here if you want to follow me. And if you want to support this channel, you could become a member of the Cabinet Club. The link is in the description if you want to have a look. And as always, subscribe, click on the notification button next to it, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new video.